Hey there, we're here to answer a couple of questions. Namely, was the launch of Far Cry 5 successful, and if so, how successful was it? Hey, if you like this video, please give me a like and comment as to what you like about it. Even if you don't like it, you can even hit that dislike button if you really want, and just let me know in the comment section what I can do to improve the video. Far Cry 5 is the fifth release of the now very popular Far Cry series of games developed by Ubisoft. Now, usually when a game is a financial success, it will warrant a sequel. And if that sequel is also a monetary hit, then another of the franchise is created, and so on. This is a pretty standard industry practice. It's a lot less risky to go with a tried and proven way as opposed to creating a new game from scratch. That being said though, this doesn't make expanding a series risk-free. In fact, something very real and very dangerous can happen to an intellectual property if it becomes abused by the parent company, and that danger is known as franchise fatigue. Think of it this way. You know what a great movie is? The original Shrek. I don't know a single person that does not like that movie. And you know what's also a pretty good movie? Shrek 2. Many people also enjoyed that movie. And some might even say it's better than the first, not many, but some. But then things take a turn, right? What about Shrek 3 or even Shrek 4? What about the Shrek mini movies that are holiday themed that no one seems to care much about? At least not nearly as much as the original. Now, are these newer movies any worse than those that came before them? Maybe. They might be. But we can't deny that there really is such a thing as too much of a good thing. You see, as these movies were created, the franchise gets less and less valuable because everything gets watered down. A lot of key aspects of a brand or franchise that people tend to love about that franchise are just done a little bit too much, and people tend to get a little bit sick of this. This is what franchise fatigue is. This is exactly why Far Cry 5 got a lot of attention regarding its release. The first Far Cry game was successful, not wildly so, but just enough to warrant a second game in the franchise. Far Cry 2 was also monetarily sound, even after taking a much more realism-focused approach than the first game. Then there's Far Cry 3, a major departure from Far Cry 2 in terms of gameplay. It favored a much more arcadey kind of theme, a set of gameplay mechanics as opposed to realism. And it blew the first two games out of the water with its sales, which totaled around 10 million units shipped as of October 30th, 2014. And that's versus an estimated 3 million units sold by Far Cry 2, according to Ubisoft. Far Cry 3 has sold, let's see here, about more than three times as many copies as Far Cry 2. It did way better than the other one there, and it kept moving the franchise forward, but this isn't necessarily always a good thing. After outperforming Far Cry 2 by almost every kind of metric imaginable, the third pillar of the series warranted another game. And, being a major success, Ubisoft had little incentive to change the formula that had produced such a popular game in the first place. They wanted to keep Far Cry 4 as similar to Far Cry 3 as they could because of how successful Far Cry 3 was. Now this is where Far Cry 4 comes in. The first Far Cry game to really start to exude franchise fatigue, to really make players think, hey, have I had enough of this? The games were extremely similar. Aside from a change of characters and settings, there wasn't really much to differentiate the two. Sure, Far Cry 4 had better graphics and a bit more in terms of content, but players could definitely tell that they were getting a bit more of the same. Many, including myself, were okay with that. And that's why the game, even Far Cry 4, even when people started to get a little bit more sick of kind of the gameplay aspects that were there, it still sold very well. It sold an estimated 7 million copies, which is no small feat. But let's not forget though, the game before it, Far Cry 3, has sold about 10 million. So going from 10 million down to 7 million, the numbers just aren't continuing to go up. Now, Ubisoft did move to shake things up a bit with the game after Far Cry 4 with Far Cry Primal, but once again, the game was just a reskin of the previous game. Same engine, same mechanics, just with new settings and new characters. I was having a bit of trouble finding the sales figures for this game, but I did find that it was in the top of the US retail charts for February of 2016. Now this puts its sales at about 300,000 for that month. If we assume that it sold this well over the course of 2 years, then we can take that number and multiply it by 24. And this gives us around 7.2 million units sold, which is very good, but still not quite as breathtakingly high as its predecessor, Far Cry 3. And you know what? This is also assuming that the game sold continuously this well, which I tend to doubt. But now to the point of this video. Far Cry 5 has been released amidst a storm of people clamoring over whether the series mechanics have been overplayed and are too watered down. I'm pretty sure that almost everyone at least assumed that the game would be financially successful, but wouldn't push the bar in terms of overall sales. After all, the last two major landmarks in the series haven't passed the point that 3 ever hit. Now this brings up a couple of questions. Did this franchise already reach its climax? And is it now just a slowly declining piece of intellectual property that Ubisoft is going to milk for all the money that it can before it's done for? Now, I did a little bit of research to kind of find out. But before I tell you, I want you to do me a favor, kind of to see whether Far Cry 5 sold very well. Now go ahead and do a little prediction. I want you guys to guess as to how many copies Far Cry 5 has reportedly sold in its first week of release. Now I'll give you a hint. It is over 1 million copies. So go ahead, using that hint, get that number in your head. Okay, you got it? Okay, good. Now, I mean, one thing I think that'd actually be kind of cool as well, and one thing I'm going to let you guys know, when I heard this number, it absolutely surprised me. It surprised me a whole bunch. Now, that being said, knowing that it's a pretty surprising number, does that change your guess at all? I think that's going to be something that's interesting to see. And even more interesting, if you guys want, go ahead and toss your number down in the comments section. We'll all look at the numbers, right? And just see, you know, who's kind of sitting right there. Give me an honest estimate as to how many copies you think the game sold in its first week. Remember that it sold over 1 million, and the number is pretty surprising. So go ahead, I'll give you guys a chance to toss it down in there before I reveal the number. Okay, you got it? Good, alright. So without further ado, in its first week of release, Far Cry 5 has reportedly sold not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5, yes 5 million copies. In its first week, it has blown all other Far Cry releases out of the water. It has already surpassed half of all copies sold of Far Cry 3, which is their best-selling game to date. And it has only been 1 week. Now, without a doubt, this game has passed any reasonable expectation for a Far Cry game. And to be honest with you, I'm pretty happy about this. I love the Far Cry games. There's something about their open worlds, beautiful graphics, crazy scenarios, and even crazier characters that always draw me in and never leaves me bored. Now, this release has set an even higher bar for the franchise, and I, for one, am extremely excited, extremely glad to see this happen. It's amazing to see this kind of momentum happen with the game series that a lot of people thought was stale, a lot of people thought it was dying, and then it comes out the gate with 5 million sold in the first week. It only drives my excitement for what to expect in the next Far Cry game, and I hope that drives you guys' excitement as well. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, a like is always appreciated, and if you want to see more content just like this, then don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button as well. It would really just make my day. And you know what, speaking of days, I hope you have a great one.